future. Get ready for the ride. We're going down to hell tonight, so strap yourself inside. There's a glaring contradiction in your world that's made of glass. Something small can shatter it and nail you to the past. Roll beneath your wheels, the madness that you feel. Oh, you will pay with your life.
Welcome to the Metal Voice. Today on the show, two great new releases. We got Raven Extermination and we got Bonfire-Glorious. And with me today to help us review these records is the one, the only, the legend, Mr. Giles Lavery, all the way in Germany.
In Germany, the home country of Bonfire. And man, I gotta say, Jimmy, what a freaking record.
Giles, tell us about Bonfire's new album.
Bonfire-Glorious is a glorious return to form for Bonfire. Those of you familiar with the German legends, you know, albums like Fireworks, Don't Touch the Light, Point Blank, and Knockout, who are waiting for a record that is truly a return to those days, those late 80s days of when they were newcomers and making, you know, a huge impression, you know, Sword and Stone from the Shocker soundtrack, touring in support of Judas Priest, and really establishing themselves as a leading force in German hard rock and metal. Will really love the new record. New singer David Reese, Accept, Circle of Silence, Bangalore Choir. He's done a lot of stuff. Fantastic singer and a perfect choice for the band to replace Claus Lessman. This album, as I said, if you're familiar with Bonfire and you're a fan of those early classic albums, this is the one to go for. This is the one that really, truly goes back to those days of strong songs. There's one word that can sum up this album, and that is songs. The catchy, memorable choruses with a high energy. There's, you know, it's not bogged down by a ton of ballads. It's all really high energy. There's like one ballad on the whole record. Once again, you know, the production is fantastic. The mix and master by Alessandro Del Vecchio really gives us a big time sound. And if you're not familiar with Bonfire, but you're really into that late 80s classic hard rock sound, the more American, you know, even though these guys are a German band, they've always had that American hard rock sound. Then check this album out. If you maybe, you know, don't really hear too many records that remind you or stack up to those classic records in your collection, check this one out, because this one will.
So what do you rate this album?
This one, I give it a 9 out of 10.
Oh my God, I just fell off my chair. Oh my Lord. 9 out of 10.
I mean, usually a great album for me is like a 6 or a 7. I say that a 10 out of 10 for me is, you know, Rainbow Rising, or Black Sabbath, Mob Rules, Heaven and Hell, those kind of game-changing records that really changed the game. So, you know, a 9 is really close for me. Usually I would sort of sit about an 8 for, like, you know, a really strong record.
Well, there you have it. The alarms are going off. The alarms are going off. Giles Lavery has given an album a 9 out of 10. A new album, a 9 out of 10.
I gave Riot a 9 out of 10.
Sorry. Okay. Second album.
This is my favorite thing since Riot.
Well, I agree with you. Great band. A real throwback to the 80s. A classic sound, melodic. The songs are all there. From what I've heard, I haven't really lived with it as much as you have. But yes, you are bang on 100%. Great album, great band, and I'm happy for David Reese. He's found that band. He's finally found that band where his voice could really come through. Next, we're going from hard rock to heavy metal. Raven, new album, Extermination. I've always been a Raven fan, Giles, since, I don't know, the 80s, right? They started off on Neat Records, graduated to Megaforce, and from Megaforce went on to the major labels, only to get, I guess, thrown off of the majors, and they've been building their way back up for years. Last album was amazing album, critically acclaimed album, Walk Through Fire. Now, they've got a new album called Extermination, and what an album. It's basically part 2 of the last album. It's not speed, it's not thrash, it's hard rock, heavy, and I mean heavy in your face. John Gallagher, outstanding vocals. The guy has not aged in 41 years. Mark Gallagher, great guitar work, great drums. I'll give you a couple of killer tracks there. The opening single, Destroying All Monsters, again, also the opening track. It's Not What You Got, sort of like the typical Raven 3-4 minute, in-your-face type songs. Tang Treads, Thunder Down Under, which is an AC/DC, we'll call it a Bon Scott tribute, and Feeding the Monster. And it even has a ballad, or I wouldn't even call it a ballad, a slow song at the end of the album. Again, these guys are unique. These guys have been around forever. I mean, they probably started thrash metal or heavy metal or speed metal, whatever you want to call it, but they are back. I suggest you go pick up Extermination. I give this album an 8.5 out of 10, but I'm going to tell you, it's very early. I just started listening to this album. This might grow on me. I might like it a lot more in the future, but for now, it's an 8 out of 10, 8.5 out of 10. How about you, Giles? Any comments on Extermination?
Yeah, I gave it a couple of listens there, Jimmy, and Raven, I have nothing but respect for them. Complete legends in going, like back to the neat metal days and even with the early tours with Metallica, Kill 'Em All for One, they were really emerging fast and themselves. They kind of tapered off there for a while in the late 80s where you didn't hear so much about them, but like you say, they've clawed their way back and they've delivered another really, really strong record, which is, as you say, equally as strong as the previous one. Certainly something that Raven fans can really get into and will certainly enjoy.
Well, there you have it. Bonfire, go pick it up, glorious. Giles gives it a 9 out of 10. Giles shocked. I'm going to fall off my chair. And Raven, I give it an 8.5 out of 10. Thanks for watching. The Metal Boys pick up the albums and we'll catch you next time.